Thank you, Tanya, and thank you, Kay, and everyone who made this possible. I don't know if I can. I can. Okay. It's really wonderful to be here. We had a great time when I was here in, was it 2011? And it's wonderful to be back. And it's amazing to see people out to hear a reading at 9:30 in the morning. So thank you all very much for coming. I'm going to read from two books, She Let Herself Go and Many Storied House. And I'm going to sort of sandwich them. So the first poem is from She Let Herself Go. And this poem came about because I was working on a workshop for teachers, and I wanted to say something about having a new relationship with the blank page, not feeling blank when you see the blank page. So I couldn't, nothing happened until I was on I-64 in the middle lane going 70 miles an hour. The muse is peculiar that way, and so this is the poem. From the page. I am blank because your heart is scrawled over with stories. I am empty because your life is full. I am perfectly flat so you can pitch a tent, a fit, a high, sweet song. I am light so you can make your mark. I am open so you can walk in. Lean close. Let me feel your breath. Ah, tell me everything. Many Storied House actually grew out of an exercise that I've done with lots of workshops, kids from 4th grade to older than I am, some really old kids. And it involves drawing the floor plan of a house you've lived in, making a note of a memory in each room, picking the memory that has the most energy for you, and then drawing that room at the moment of the memory. And here's just an example when I was doing this myself, because I always do whatever assignment I'm giving. And so I ask a lot of questions, and you just write the answers on your picture, and then you write. So you don't have that blank page to start with. You have your material and an actual window into an experience. So after I had done this about 432 times, it occurred to me I could do the entire house that I grew up in. And as my mother's life was in her very last years, it became really compelling for me to do this. So I'm going to read a few poems from Many Storied House. And there is a painting of the house because my brother and sister-in-law got a neighbor to paint the house one year paint the house picture one year as a gift to my parents. Provenance. Here I stand at the beginning with more questions than answers. What I know is Papa built the house I grew up in at Rio Vista, which is down below Loyal, 4 miles from the county seat. It's on 1st Street, number 108, I found out when we sold it. 4th house on the right, 2-story, reddish brown and white. You can't miss it. So there's the floor plan. And the poems are arranged spatially rather than chronologically. So you come in the front door, and this is in the hall. Passage. The morning Daddy was leaving for the surgery that would not save him, the doorbell rang, and he opened to a jaunty man on the front porch, a familiar cadger who never paid back a loan. Tired of lies, Daddy refused, and both men turned away. But a hinge in his heart turned Daddy back. "I'll give it to you," he said. It was the last thing the world asked of him, and he gave. So then you go into the living room, and so all the poems in the living room, they happen at different times. This is Visitor. That man, that shining man, grackle black hair, the dazzling eyes, a voice like effervescent velvet, sitting on the rose couch, strumming a guitar, and singing, "Once a jolly swagman camped by a billabong under the shade of a coolibah tree." His Australian mouth hissing strange words into song. Why, he was an adult and alive, happy as a kid, I could tell, with my 10-year-old knowing. And this was sweeter than the blackberry cobbler Mother had served in his honor. Right there, that night, Desmond Tees waltzed my sky with a whole new Matilda of stars. In the dining room, there's this poem, Collector's Item. On the cornice board above the window is a large plate with a brown and amber pheasant against a jade and spring green ground. It belonged to Ella Ezell Lane Colwell, my mother's mother's mother, the woman who was kind to her, the one who, widowed with 3 small children, started a boarding house, married a boarder, made it to Memphis from the dirt roads of Prescott, still unpaved in 1972. I know my great-grandmother from one picture, delectable descriptions of her salmon salad, her bold signature in a second edition of Swinburne, and this great plate, and the way she touched my mother and helped her go on. There are more poems in the kitchen than anywhere else. Surprise, surprise. And this is the poem that came from this exercise. Reveille. Standing on the white metal table in my mother's blue kitchen, just turned 12 and full of joy, my brother puts the cold gold of the trumpet to his lips and blasts the house awake. Over coffee. I think if I'd been a man, Mother told me, I would have played football for Notre Dame. She was 88 when she said this. She could have done it, too, followed by Harvard Law and clerking for the Supreme Court. As it was, she had us, family and house, PTA and Heart Fund, till my brother went to college. Then she ran the Chamber of Commerce from 1961 until she died. I think if I'd been a man, she'd never have sat at that table and told me all those stories. How her mother hit her with the butcher knife, but only the dull side. How she slapped her so hard it bloodied her nose. Mother needed to see her pain reflected in my face so she could push it away. What do you think you'd have done? She'd say angrily. With 7 little children, your husband gone all week, and you living at the back door of nowhere. In the middle of the book, more or less, there is a flood, because we had one. And there's a very long poem I'm not going to read, but it's from my father's journal of the flood. But here's one. No light. As if to pay for all it took, the river left in the middle of the living room floor a minor orange hard hat. Then you go upstairs. The room that has the second most poems is the library. My parents were the first generation to finish high school, much less go to college. And so when Papa was going to build them a house, they wanted a library. On those shelves, from the landing, you step down into a room out over the garage. This is the room that made us who we were. Book lovers, scholars, people of the Word, who found a safe place between the hard covers. Jekyll or gilt-edged, the wild world opened. Story, knowledge, emotion we've been taught to hold in. On those shelves Papa built into the wall, below the windows, stood the many mansions of our house.